This is Solo Q coming to you live from Undermine. It is February 25th. Today is patch day and the patch has not gone live yet. I'm reporting secretly from Undermine from the city before the patch goes live. We wanted to see what the mood was like and what goes on behind the scenes, so we snuck past all the cartel guards and all the goblins, and we are trying to get a sense of what the mood is in town. There have been reports that the patch isn't going well, that there may be delays. We heard news that there was a union that was holding out and the workers were not going to be in place when the patch is scheduled to be launched. We did hear that later confirmed that holdout was busted by Gallywix's goblins, by the Black Fuse cartel. They seem very interested in keeping to a tight schedule. We talked to a few goblins off the record who reported that yes, they were indeed roughed up and had to report to their positions in the city as NPCs, looking a little beat up, some bruising. So things may not be on the up and up here. Nobody really wanted to talk on camera, but as we get closer to the intended launch of the patch, NPCs are reporting to their positions, to their places in the city. There is still a lot of construction going on, assembly of some last-minute vendor areas. The Cage of Carnage Stadium is still undergoing some last-minute repairs from some damage earlier in the week, and some changes, last-minute changes that were put into place by the developers. So you can hear that construction behind me. Apparently, a half hour ago, there was a push to go live, and it turned out the game almost went live without a flight master and 2 key quest givers that were not yet in place. We have seen a lot of activity of people running around and seemingly locking themselves down into their game position. We're going to sneak from Undermine back up to the Verdant Gutter, which is the area where player characters will start the patch when they first log in. And we're going to sneak our way back up there to see if the patch is ready to go. Okay, we are here in the Verdant Gutter. This is the first mini zone area where questing will begin once the patch goes live. We are kind of hiding in some bushes off to the side. The scene here is also frantic, just like it was in Undermine. NPCs going over their lines, kind of mumbling to themselves, practicing. There is a blacksmith I can see off in the distance teaching another NPC how to swing the hammer for the first time. Apparently, some blacksmith training of the trainer going on right now. We are told that there'll be 2 horns leading up to the launch of the patch. The first horn will be the signal that everyone must be in their places. So we expect to see some scrambling around at last minute and everyone taking their stations. That will be followed by a queuing up of the zone music and the ambiance and all of the parts that really make this zone come alive, and any zone come alive. And then there'll be a second horn, and that is the actual launch of the patch. That is the live version of the game, and at that point we should start to see player characters start streaming in. So there is the first horn, and we can see that there are a few laggards kind of quickly getting to their positions where we don't know how much time is between the 2 horns, but we are ready for all of this to start. The anticipation is palpable. There is definitely a buzz in the air. You can hear the music coming up now, slowly getting pulled up to speed. It is fascinating to see just how much work goes on behind the scenes to get everybody moving in the same direction and get everything ready to go. We did speak to the young goblin woman who will be the opening NPC. The patch opens with a toll booth put into place, and she is the toll booth toll collector standing in the way of every player character hoping to get into this content. She only wanted to speak off the record. Here's what she had to say when we brought out the microphone.
What now?
We were hoping to interview really quickly for solo queue.
What? I'm working.
We would like to ask you a few questions about the patch, but oh no, you seem to be turning away. I'm sorry.
You got a problem?
Well, you don't need that knife.
Whatever.
Not too pleasant, but she did inform us a couple hours ago that this was her first kind of big-time gig speaking role. She had previously been a unnamed minor NPC in Kezan, and for a few years had been walking the streets of Orgrimmar. Well, now she's got this kind of front and center gig, although she still does not have a name. But name or not, she is going to be the vanguard of this patch. All player characters that want to get into this patch are going to pass through this quest in her toll booth. And there it is, the second horn. You can hear the players just waiting at the gate, at the pass. Their first quest is to go through the toll booth. And let's listen in as they are in the game and running towards that quest to be the first one into the verdant gutter.
I gotta reward the effort. Look at them. We just want to visit the mining camp.
You ain't going nowhere till you pay.
There's the first
I
one.
gotta reward the effort.
Next
Look
player.
at 'em. We just want to visit the mining camp.
And another.
Look at them.
You ain't going
We
nowhere till
just
you
want to
pay.
visit the mining camp.
Oh, they're starting
You
to
ain't
show up
going
now.
nowhere till you pay.
I gotta reward the effort. I gotta reward the effort. I gotta reward the effort. I gotta want to visit the mining camp. Look at them. I gotta reward the effort. Look at them.
You ain't going
Just
nowhere.
want to visit the mining
till you
camp.
pay.
Reward the effort.
You ain't going nowhere till you pay.
Look at them. Visit the
You ain't going
mining camp.
nowhere till you pay.
Visit the mining camp. Just look at them. Visit the mining camp. Visit the mining camp. Visit the mining camp.
You ain't going nowhere.
Visit the mining camp.
You ain't going nowhere.
Just want to visit the mining camp.
You ain't going
Just
nowhere.
want to
You
visit
ain't
the
going
mining
nowhere
camp. Want to
till you
visit the
pay.
mining
You
camp.
ain't going nowhere till you pay. You ain't going nowhere till you pay.
Well, there you have it. The initial rush is over. Players are starting to go through a little more one at a time, two at a time, but the initial buildup of players raring to go as soon as the patch dropped has
You
passed.
ain't going nowhere till you pay.
There's a lot of good energy here in the verdant gutter and excitement for the Undermined expansion. This has been Dave live in the verdant gutter. And for now, we will throw it back to Solo Q headquarters.
You ain't going nowhere till you pay.
You have entered the Solo Queue, a monthly podcast about adventuring alone in the world of Warcraft. Thanks for joining me. My name is Dave Gagne. Welcome to Solo Q, episode 21. Hey, gotta love that smooth jazz. And if it's jazzy in Warcraft, then you probably know where we are. Yeah, this is the Goblin city of Undermine. The long-awaited journey to Undermine. First of all, without just diving right into things, my God, this music is fantastic. It might, there was a moment when I first heard it and I thought, this kind of, it takes me a little out of Azeroth. Maybe not the game, but a little bit out of Azeroth and normal play. But it did take more than a couple minutes for me to really settle in, and I love jazz anyway. I think this is just absolutely elevated. It's fantastic. So, hey, okay. Let's start back at the beginning. Welcome to episode 21. My name is Dave. I'm your host of Solo Queue, a hopefully twice monthly, on average by the end, podcast about playing the World of Warcraft alone. Or just playing the World of Warcraft. I mean, you don't have to be alone. You can listen with a friend if you like. You can share your earbud, although that's really gross. Although my students do that all the time, and I think that's gross. Just saying. I hope you enjoyed the opening, the cold open. This came out of a literal shower idea numerous weeks ago. It just literally popped into my head, almost as it sounds. It was a lot less work in the shower than it was to actually do it on the computer. But I think it turned out fun. And it really stems from this ongoing idea that I have in my head about thinking about the NPCs and everybody in the game when the servers go offline. Every Tuesday, servers go down for 30 minutes, 40, 60 minutes, whatever it is. And I think this is the only time these people get off from work. They get to stretch, leave the auction house podium that they stand at all day, or stop swinging the blacksmith's hammer the entire other 167 and a half hours in the week. And so I think about that, the little time off they have. And so building off that, it just hit me like, hey, when a new patch comes in, new content comes in, I mean, they kind of take down the whole thing and rebuild and all the things that go on behind the scenes to do that. I thought it'd be fun to just wander into that space and see what it's like. So I hope you enjoyed. It was a lot of fun. It has been really busy around my part of the world. I have one more week of school before our school takes its 2-week March break, which will be a nice change of pace. There's been a flurry of episodes and episode creating going on. How about episode 20 with Gershom? I thought that was a fantastic conversation. My goal was kind of a State of the Union, State of Azeroth, State of Warcraft conversation, and that was a lot of fun. Big thanks to Gershom for coming on out. It's the internet. She didn't really have to leave her home, so, And being a little late with 19, which made 20 a little bit late, which makes 21 a little bit late. I didn't leave myself a lot of time for this episode. I still thought, I still thought I could get it in February.
I got a bad feeling.
My wife knew better. She's lovely and supportive, but she's also quite pragmatic and knows me very well.
Relax.
It did not get out in February. So the February episode, like many other episodes before, it'll get to you very soon. And oddly enough, in all of my mental planning and my actual planning, I figured out, okay, if I record here, if I do this, I know it's going to take some time to do that intro. I did the rate of the month ahead of time. I got this. I can do this. The one thing I didn't actually factor in was enough time to play the game. I mean, I knew I would have to get into 11.1 and experience it so that I could come and talk to you about it. I mean, I don't want to come and lecture you about a game I haven't experienced and played yet. And I don't play on PTR, so I'm not doing this ahead of time, which on some level might be smart. On a time management level might be smart. I don't want to play things twice. I don't want to play it on the PTR and have it change. I don't want to play it once on the PTR and then have to go and do it on my live characters. So, we're going to lag a little bit. I'm never going to give you the advanced preview of everything. We'll learn together, and I think that's just fine. But yeah, I knew I would play a little bit and get in and get to a point where I could pause, turn around and record and tell you about it, but I just kept going. So last night, where I thought I'd play for a couple hours, I ended up playing like 7 hours and finally had to stop and go to bed without recording a single word. And that's okay, right? So unlike episode 19 with its tiny main topic that came at the very end of the episode, this one is very much focused on the new content, on the Undermined patch, on the Undermine city, on all the things that are fresh and new. So the main topic coming up in a little bit, we've got a raid of the month, we've got some news out there, even, with 11.1 showing up, there's still some news to talk about. We've got a question of the week to wrap up and answer, and I think maybe another one. I may ask another one. Had a great response on this one. But let's kick things off with what I accomplished since I've talked to you about a month ago. What have I done in the game, the world of Warcraft?
And what have you done lately?
Let's go back to early to mid-February, and Love's in the Air. I have to say, this was the first time I kind of spent meaningful time in Love is in the Air, and I did all the questing. I did it on a couple characters. I did some of those dailies, got into some of that questing, and that was a lot of fun. It's not necessarily my jam, I guess. The aesthetics are not necessarily what I want my characters to wear in Warcraft, so I think there's limited things that I want to chase down. I did get some leveling XP on a few characters, but not as much as some of the other holidays that I've done. So nobody magically lifted from 20 to 70 or anything crazy. I just moved a couple characters up the needle a little bit. I already had some tokens on one character, on my main character, so I had 75 for the new mount right away, and that was good. And then the other stuff I chased, it was just, smaller stuff. It was nice to not feel the need to go super deep. I've been working really hard on some of the recent holidays, and this one was a little bit more casual. And that kind of goes along with one of the quests that I noticed. It was really cool. Maybe I had done it a long time ago. I don't think so, though. It was called the Gift of Relaxation quest, and I did this for the Horde. I assume the Alliance has something similar. I didn't experience it, but essentially it says, wow, you've been working way too hard. You need to relax. Go across the river over there and pet some cats, read some books, sit in a chair, do nothing, look at the river. I was like, okay, okay. And you go over and no fooling, you start petting cats that are running around, and you notice the progress bar goes up a couple of percent. You grab a book and read that, and progress bar goes up a couple of percent. And then I saw the chair. I was like, oh, I'll sit in the chair. Maybe I can read a book while I'm in the chair. And while you're sitting, the progress bar just steadily goes up and up and up. And so I did slow down and relaxed. I read a couple of the little lore books that are there, one on Kel'Thuzad and the new Horde. It was a lot of fun. So next year when that rolls around and you want a moment, or you want to dive into some in-game lore books that sadly are not, kind of available all the time, do that. And with Allie in mind from the Live Laugh Lore podcast, wouldn't it be great if we could grab those books and actually not have them disappear? Some of them disappear in 2 hours, and then others are still, I think, I haven't gone back to check, but others did not have the 2-hour time limit and therefore should still be in my bags. I don't know why the discrepancy, but wouldn't it be great if we could take those books back to our whatever player housing is and file them on the shelf, or even in our war bank? That would be fantastic. So I'm joining Allie's march for a library. Let's be honest. Let's just make a library part of this game somewhere. That'd be fantastic. This could be the most blinged out, decorated Kindle app in the world. You pay your sub each month, and you can sit inside of your player housing, and you can read books that are like 42 words per page, and then you click the little thing, and page after page after page. They could put in all the Warcraft novels, and you could buy them through Warcraft and read them in game. That would be fantastic. This is not in my notes. This is all just really, really good ideas, Blizzard. Okay, well, this might be a long one if I'm already tangenting this hard. Buckle in, everyone. What else did I get up to this month? Well, I had to scramble to hit the full 2,000 points in the Traders Tenders monthly trading post thingy. The last 200 points, I was sort of like, okay, what am I doing? I gotta do something. And I did it with a hatful of hours left. It was close to midnight, although it doesn't reset at midnight at the end of the month because time zones. But there was only a couple hours left when I finally hit that 2,000 to max out. Of course, you get the I don't even remember. It was the love suit something at 1,000, and then at 1,500 and at 2,000, you got 250 more tenders each. Now we're in March and back in normal trader tender territory, so 500 free, and then do all the things and you get 500 more, so 1,000 on offer this month. I did buy a few things from the February trading post, and I got a few more from the discounted vendors. That said, not as many things as I thought. Not as much attractive stuff to me. And maybe I have finite tastes. I didn't go through the March trading post yet. However, the butterfly theme has me thinking I will probably be saving a few tenders this month as well. You know, butterflies are lovely creatures. They are truly a miracle of nature, but none of my characters really want to be dressed up like that. They're not asking for that transmog. So we'll see. We'll see if something else outside of that look shows up in the list. No complaints though. You know, I have no complaints about the trading post. It's basically free stuff. That's how I look at it. So one thing I got up to this month surprised the heck out of me, and it was related to the interview with Gershom for episode 20. I know that Gersham's main is a troll hunter.
Relax.
And so I thought, all right, I got to go record some troll music. I will hop on my troll druid and head over to the Echo Isles and grab some of the background music for the episode, for the interview. And when I got there, I remembered, oh yeah, I have the Troll Heritage Armor quest line just waiting to get started. I've already accepted the initial things, and the first turn in is on the Echo Isles. I just need to head over there and say hello and get started. And so after I recorded audio, I thought, all right, I've got a little time. Maybe not. But I thought, yeah, I'm going to do this. I mean, I grabbed that initial quest more than a year ago, and I've never gotten back to it. So instead of maxing everything out in the waning moments of 11.0.5, I just decided I would hop into this unfinished task. And I think I did it wrong. And there's probably a lesson in here for you if you pay attention. This was difficult. This should not have been difficult. I've done now 11 of the Heritage Armor quests, and this was by far the hardest one. I cannot tell you how many times I died. The first wave of deaths came pretty early on, and you're headed to an ogre cave to kill a bunch of ogres, and there was a bunch of the regular ogres that were just one-shotting me. and I realized there was some sort of lake of fire that was getting cast, and it would just do me in. Boom, one shot. Once I figured that out, it was 5 more deaths trying to defeat the ogre boss. So at the end of the cave, you have to kill the boss. Oh, doctor. Oh boy, I could not get through this boss. I'm sure this is going to make my friends in the band Ogre laugh, that the ogre boss was finally having its way with me. I remember when I finally turned in the quest, I realized that this little ogre boss and the quest, I think, but he had the title of Unkillable. It's like, yeah, no fooling. But it was at that point that I figured out kind of what I did wrong. By the time I got to this quest line, my troll druid, Oparfa, was level 70 after all the anniversary trivia party. So she was barely geared for 60. And at level 70, that's where all the numbers change. Like the mobs step their damage up, and yeah, that was rough. And there's a funny irony here that's at play. When I rolled Oparfa as my second Horde Druid back in 2017, I had no plans for her. I literally just wanted to see what the troll druid forms were. I already had a Horde main. I already had a Horde Druid. It was a Tauren Druid. And I thought, I just want to see what the troll forms look like, so I'll make one. And so I named her Oparfa, which is kind of a bastardized version of the Latin word for unneeded. So the first irony was that shortly, this unneeded character actually became my Horde main, and I ran her through a couple expansions as my lead Horde character. But that only lasted till Shadowlands, where she was an undergeared max level 60 who did not get played very much. And then she'd been in the perfect position to run the Troll Heritage Armor quest line when that came out, and I grabbed that quest, but now that she's level 70, not so much, not so good. The solution? Well, the solution was warbands to the rescue. After kind of banging my head against the wall a bit, I noticed the warband bank distance inhibitor button. That's the one that allows you access to your war bank anywhere. So I logged out and made sure to stock my war bank with some leathers and a 385 weapon token to get her out of all that 282 heirloom gear. I geared her up with a couple 480s, some 402 time walking gear, a couple cheap 343 pieces from the auction house, and that bumped her up to an overall eye level of 370. And that made Mr. Unkillable quite killable. So that was good. Well, that and remembering to actually interrupt his one big cast. So there we go. So from that ogre cave, where I don't even remember where it was near one of the big outdoor raids, one of the big outdoor troll raids, fittingly. It was back to the Echo Isles, and things were going well until one of the final quests was to defeat these super tall bad guys that were standing. They're just super tall, like very, very tall. And the way to defeat them was you had to get up on these 4 pillars. But these guys were immensely strong because they're kind of final boss sort of things. And then once I died, I actually had no way to get back to my corpse at the top of the pillar, because these pillars required you to either fly up there, or there was like a transport device, not portal, but there's a little thingy that would get you up there, or you could just fly because, level 70 can fly. But when you're in the undead realm, I guess the Shadowlands. Do we still call it the Shadowlands? So when you're dead, you can't fly, but sometimes you can. And this actually made me a little bit grumpy. Why is it in some zones when you die, you can fly, in other zones you can't? And I don't necessarily, it has not occurred to me what the rule is, which ones you can, which ones you can't, because I feel like I have done it in old zones, and there are just other zones that you can't. And this one, Echo Isles, I could not fly. And so there I am, dead, standing on the ground, and my corpse is more than, I guess, 40 yards away? It's up on the pillar, and I can't get to it. So I'm going back and taking the resurrection penalty, and that was a couple of times, and that repair bill added up for sure. So clearly I was hitting another wall. I just did not have the throughput and the survivability to kill these 4 things. I mean, I was getting to like 80% and doing all my druid tricks and not getting very far. And I had 4 of them to do. The answer this time was to hop into the War Within and get some better gear. So what I thought was going to be a quick little hop into the game and B, a quick little story, which clearly this is not, did not go quickly. I hopped in at a level 70, went through the opening Dalaran crash quests with a couple more deaths because ultimately it's still just not geared very high. Then on to Dornogal and its opening quests, and that gave me a new pair of pants. Once Dornogal opened up, I could do the 6 world quests weekly quest, and I set out to get any world quest that gave gear. And after running around to 3 zones, stopping in for a theater troupe, getting that weekly cash, I jumped up to 425 eye level with a 460 weapon. And I was hoping that would actually be able to do some damage to those dastardly fiends that were attacking the Echo Isles. So I'm not sure what Rokan, the leader of the trolls, thought of me just piecing out every now and then while I was in the middle of this epic battle. But he seemed very happy when I returned, wearing more than like a t-shirt and brandishing a broken stick from a nearby tree. This time, each of the 4 tower bosses went down very quickly, especially when I was able to dodge their big purple beam, which of course was easier to do when I didn't feel like I needed every single second to do damage. Then I thought, okay, I'm going to kill the 4 guys, and then the one in the middle doing the thing, powering up, whatever, I'll get to fight that one. But nope. Rokan did this literally amazing flying through time and space move to actually kill the Zada, the big boss, the final baddie that was threatening to keep the Dark Spear from aligning with their correct Loa. It was really cool. It was cinematic. It was a fun quest line, as most of the Heritage armors are. I really enjoyed this one. Get to visit with Janny, the trash Loa from Battle for Azeroth. Hang out with Bonsamdi, the Loa of Death. I'm no troll lore expert, but I really did love how this tied some of the different troll tribes and races a little bit closer together. You know, races being the Zandalari and the regular trolls. Just bringing them a little bit closer with shared beliefs, and the Loa kind of crossing over from one to the other. For example, Bonsamdi is the Loa of Kings for the Zandalari, but he still serves as the Loa of Death for the Darkspear. In the end, the full cast of Loa also included, this is the coolest name, Kivo Yasiti. That's a great name. That's a really great name. Kivo Yasiti, the Loa of Cunning, Janny, the Loa of Scavengers, I guess not just trash, but scavengers. And Luco, the Loa of regeneration. And that was the missing Loa that needed some saving in the quest line. So all in all, it was a very cool story. I've heard other people say the troll story is one of the better ones. And I think it really was. It really was excellent. Highly recommend. A cool story, despite all the diversions that I needed just to complete it. And now all I have left is the Undead Heritage Armor quest line. That's the last one. So luckily, I have a level 80 Undead Priest who should be able to handle that. We're not going to do this at level 70 again. Literally any other level. Like 50 would be great, 60 would be great, 68 would have been fine. Not 70. Don't do it at 70. You've been warned. Okay, let's get to our main topic, because everything else I did this month kind of going to fit into that main topic. Here we go.
Let's get down to business.
We are standing here at Undermine Station, where you take a rocket into the city of Undermine, the legendary city, as I said. Goblin fans, there's been a lot of excitement among them to finally see this. If you've played through the Goblin quest line, starting zone quest lines, you might remember that the island of Kezan is destroyed. At the end of the Goblin starting zone quest lines, or at least in that process, that whole city is gone. It's destroyed by the volcano Mount Kajaro. Goblins were added as part of Cataclysm, and as part of the Cataclysm, that story destroyed that starting area, that starting city of Kezan. And there was, if you've never done it, I think it's worth, especially now, going and starting a new Goblin character, even if you don't intend to play them long, but play through that starting area, because there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of great assets and stories and themes that are just dropped and left out of the game, essentially. Because once you level and you finish the starting quests, you never go back there. I mean, the island's destroyed, so it's out of the story. And if you never play a Goblin, you never go there. Well, now we're in Undermine, and all of these things, it's really just picking up where it left off, and it feels really natural. Thinking back to that quest line, the crazy cars, and we've taken the car and updated the car and added, more game stuff to do with it. But the heart of it was there. The crazy highways are there. All the Goblin technology and theming and the Bilgewater cartel and all of it, it's just there. Gallywix, you get the story of Trade Prince Jaster Gallywix. So I think it's a great idea. If you've got some time, run a character through there. Do not do the Exile's Reach. Go ahead and do the Goblin starting area. It would not surprise me if we see Undermine become the new Goblin starting area in the future. It has me wanting to level a Goblin, actually, I gotta say. And I wonder, is anyone playing a Goblin Shadow Priest? Because that would be very interesting. A very interesting RP place to be right now. At the start of 11.1, when it dropped, I did not have time to get in on. I think I spent 15 minutes on Tuesday when the patch dropped, and then did not get back to it until, well, now I don't remember if it was Wednesday or Thursday. But anyway, I surprised myself in two ways. First, I didn't actually level with my main, with my druid. I did a few. It was that first night. I did a few quests. I got to the Verdant Gutter and Gutterville. I did 4 or 5 quests or whatever, and then I had to stop. I had work to do. And when I came back to it, I thought, well, I've got to record some stuff, and why don't I just do it on another character? So I hopped on my Alliance human Paladin, the one character who kind of looks like me and I think of as kind of me, maybe, in the real world. And so he was the one that actually started leveling, and then I just kept playing, and I passed where my druid was and just kept going, and that was Friday night, the night I played for hours and hours and hours. Today is Saturday as I record this. So for the first time, I was leading an expansion with not my normal main and enjoying it. I was having a lot of fun. Just kept going, kept playing, and I saw no reason to stop. The second surprise was as I started recording for the show and grabbing parts and redoing parts of the story for the first time on new characters, I realized, why do I have 3 of my level 80s not on my main server? I gotta stop doing this. I have 6 servers that I have characters on, which is way too many. It made sense back in the old days, and there's an episode where we'll talk about why I have characters set up the way I do for farming and such, but that's not this episode. But in the end, it turns out that some of my favorite characters who are level 80 are not all on the same server. And so I grabbed a few server transfers. Yep, I know. Didn't think I would, but I did. Grab some server transfers, and I'm moving a few people around in ways that make sense in this new kind of warband world. Yes, a lot of things transfer, but not everything. And yes, I can move materials around, but really it's the professions. Like if I've already got the level 80, I want to benefit from their professions. If I'm going to have the time to do professions and make my own gear, I want all of them on the same server working together. So that was surprise number 2. Going through the patch, we start, of course, with the opening cinematic. Once the servers come up and your game opens up, I love that opening cinematic just always launches first. You don't even get to pick your characters. Yep. Nope. Let's just see the next thing. And I'm not going to spoil anything. I imagine most people have seen it and gotten into it. It's not hiding. You could find it on the internet if you want. But I won't say anything too crazy, but it's not a spoiler or a secret that Gallywix is at the heart of all the action in the patch and in the city of Undermine. And he's front and center in that video. And I know a lot of people were questioning, like, well, okay, this is jazz music, this is goblins and silly tech and Mario Kart driving and blah, blah, blah. Why are we doing all this while Xalatath is out there and is planning to kill us? The cinematic does a great job of answering that question, of bringing some things together. And I guess that's all I'll say about it. I really enjoyed the cinematic. I want to watch it again. I've seen it twice, but not a third time. Now I feel like stopping and going and watching it, which I'm not going to do. I'm going to hang with you guys. But yeah, it's really good. It's really good. And it really sets up what's going on. And the questing does as well. So if there were 2 characters that are central to moving forward, one, of course, is Gallywix. Gallywix in the role of a target. He is the final raid boss for the raid that I will not see most of. Talk about that later. But there's another character that comes with us, and that is Orweyna of the Heronir. And she also is a connection to the main story and why we're headed in this direction. It all comes together nicely. So those questions are answered. If you haven't gotten in yet, I'm not going to spoil those answers for you yet. You'll find out. But know that, yeah, the story is pretty well tied together, I think. And the next thing I want to mention about the patch really is all story related, although not all of it kind of goes together. The first thing I'll say is a bit of a downer. It's not a negative. I mean, it is a negative, but it's a bit of a bummer. As it has launched, one of the big characters, Renzik the Shiv, does not have any voice. He doesn't have any voiceover. And so in these conversations with Monty Gazlow, of course, Gazlow is going to say his lines out loud, and Renzik does not. You just have to see the thought bubble, the speech bubble, and read that. Or you have to look down in the chat box if your stuff shows up there, your vocals show up there. And that is, I saw somebody use the perfect term. It is immersion breaking. It's not the end of the world. I still get the story, but it's a bummer. It's too bad. I have an article that I found that I'll throw into the show notes that is essentially, wondering if there's a voice actor, sort of strike, labor issue, something. And I guess that makes sense if stuff can't get done in time, if someone was lined up to do maybe even a couple voices, because I think there's another kind of minor goblin character who's missing some audio. And that's too bad. I'm sure no one's at fault. I'm sure no one was like, you know what, let's ship this patch with half the audio and see if the forums light up. I'm guessing that's not Ian Hazzikostas' plan. So that's a little bit of a bummer. Let's take a side note to say Renzik the Shiv, a fairly important character in the cast of characters headed to Undermine and doing the work. He is the one goblin in SI7, the Alliance's, dark operations CIA type unit. And if you've ever wondered how the heck a goblin got into the Alliance SI7, there's a story about that. There's a fantastic audio short story that just came out recently called Tipping Point, and perfectly timed. I heard, I think, again, to reference Live, Laugh, Lore, I think they mentioned you've got to hear this before you jump into the patch. And I did 15 minutes in the patch that first night, and then while walking the dog and other stuff, I listened to it on YouTube. It is fantastic. The story is very good. The story is not necessary for you to go play the game. If you are a story person, however, yeah, this is good. It takes you into Renzik's life as as muscle in a goblin cartel in the city of Undermine, where it all started. And then let's just say that the character of Renzik, which coincidentally, ironically, I don't know, pick your word, does not have a voiceover or a voice actor in the game. Renzik meets up with the narrator of this audiobook, none other than Matthias Shaw, leader of SI7. And his voice is fantastic. The story is written in a way that Matthias Shaw is telling us the story. The voice actor of Matthias Shaw, John Bailman, is phenomenal. And his voicing of goblins, also phenomenal, which, kind of begs the question why he isn't voicing Renzik the Shiv in the actual game. Kudos, John Bailman. Really, you absolutely blew me away with your voice. I hope somehow this gets to you. Yeah, phenomenal. The story is great as well, written by Andrew Robinson. It mentions illustrated by Matt Hubel. That said, there's only one illustration in the YouTube video, which is really just a still picture and the audio. That said, it is likely that this will be part of another short story compilation, I believe. I can't remember if that's been announced or not. But this seems to fit the pattern that they had in the previous short story book, which I don't think I've mentioned on the show. I haven't seen it yet. I've heard some of the stories. I should buy that. 50 minutes of audio, perfect amount of time. It's way less time than I spend talking to you. So you should definitely check out The Tipping Point, the latest short story, audio short story put out by Blizzard. It is on the website, it is on YouTube. I'll include links, but really you should be able to find that pretty easily. And the story's great. Matthias Shaw and Renzik coming together. And yeah, enjoy. Really, go find it and enjoy. Also, you get introduced to the Crackslagger Cartel, which is a phenomenal name. I hope in-game we find out what happened to the Crackslagger Cartel, because this would have been many years ago. The story would be set many years ago. It also begs the question, if Matthias Shaw is in Undermine, how come we couldn't go there before? He knew where it was. And I wonder how he got there. There's a lot of things to wonder, actually. And I wonder if we're going to get these answers. So this is just coming to me as I'm talking, but we get to Undermine by, of course, going through Khazalgar and, essentially finding the random island and then falling through all the holes and mining some stuff, and we eventually get there. How is it that Undermine was accessed before, and was it cut off when Kezan was destroyed? Are we going to find that out? I hope so. I'm looking forward to that. Getting back to story, there's a series of quests that take you through the Verdant Gutter and Gutterville, and I thought that was a good little quest line, and that gets you essentially onto a rocket that takes you into Undermine, because that's the next place to be to keep moving with the story. And I'm not going to focus on story here, partly because, I'll let you discover it. Also, there's other podcasts that can tell you more about the story than I can. And so good questing, and then you get into that rocket, and it drops you, where this music is playing right now at the station in Undermine. You do a little bit of questing with Gazlo and the others, and it is not too long before you get into your DRIVE drive, the G99 crazy car. I forget what it's called. You'll find out, or you'll know it. The drive system is interesting. It is at the heart of, it's kind of a built-in system for Undermine. I like it. I think it takes some getting used to. I have not proceeded very far in customizing my ride. And frankly, I didn't love it at first. As soon as I walked in and got in the car, I thought, oh, it's way too fast. It's way too weird. It's whatever. If you go to the garage where you can customize, and actually, I think by default now, you may start out with the slower engine. And if you're not, if I have that wrong, definitely go to the garage and start with the slower engine. Because I think the slower engine, it mentions it's like for tourists or whatever, and you want to see the sights. It kind of makes fun of you for wanting it, but it allows you to get used to the controls. Undermine is not so big that you need lightning fast speeds, at least not for the questing parts or for the delivery system, the surge pricing system, the doing chores for people system. I understand you're going to want the speed when you start doing the races, like the modified dragon flying races. Those are kind of cool. I did one with my slow motor because I needed to get the world quest, and I thought, oh, all right, I did okay. This was good. And you know how at the end of the race they list your time and the gold and the silver and the bronze levels, and I was almost double the gold time. It was not not impressive. So the slow motor is not your answer to, winning the Undermine Cup if we ever get there. That said, it will get you used to that car system. So I think that is good. I think drive is a good system. The annoying parts are it is not considered a normal mount. So like when I have a button that just clicks mount and nope, I have to either swap it in because I can't make it a mount, or I'm hitting a different button. It's an action button essentially. So I'm moving an action button into my mount slot, but moving my mount. And then that's fine. That's whatever. The one that really annoys me is that I can't move the dismount button, which I think is set at number 5. So when I go to hit, I don't even know what I hit, plus on my keyboard, plus equal sign, that is to mount up. And I also have that button on my mouse, so it's really easy. When I do that, I can mount up, but that's not the button to dismount, and it's super annoying. So I drive near something that I need to get out and do a quest, and all of a sudden I'm driving off because I hit the dismount button, and then I hit attack or whatever, and that is turbo boost to drive away really fast. That's not ideal. I'm not sure if that's an add-on issue. I don't think it is. I would really like to move that action from number 5 to where I want it. Sadly, I can't. Maybe that's a change that's coming. That would make, for me personally, that would make using the drive cars a lot easier and a lot less frustrating. The drifting part took some getting used to, but I enjoy it. So originally I thought, oh man, my fast twitch muscle days were actually never here. I was never super good at fast video game whatevers. And I thought, I'm not going to be good at this drive stuff. Again, using the slow motor, I was able to get used to the drifting idea. So, and the drifting is what refreshes your turbo boost. So it's all tied together, and I think it works pretty well. So far, 7 or whatever hours in, I'm enjoying it. One thing that is, let's see, I'll go good and less good. Less good, the scrap piles. Essentially, every now and then, there's a pile of scrap that needs to be digged through. And it's like a mini community event. I'm trying to think of what the parallel would be, and I'm not remembering. It's essentially a little thing that lasts for about 2 minutes. You get in, you have to dig at this pile, and then, of course, every now and then, bad guys come and you have to kill them off, or poison shoots out, or there's a bunch of things to deal with. So you have to stop digging and deal with it. And then at the end, you get a small cache of stuff. It's almost like doing the snuffling, except it's a little bit bigger. It lasts a little longer, and the rewards, maybe they're negligibly bigger. These are all small time rewards. So, what's the difference between 2 flight stones and 4 or 5? Not a lot to me. So it's relatively small time. I'm a little annoyed by them. I don't know that I feel like I need to do them. Maybe they're more profitable than I think, but they seem like slightly too long and slightly too interrupted. Like the mobs that interrupt you, the things that interrupt you are slightly hectic. That said, it's 2 minutes of hectic or less if you get there later. And, I think as long as you participate, I'm not sure your level of reward is lower. I've stumbled onto them right at the start. And then I've also come in literally in the last couple seconds. And I'm not sure that my treasure has changed. That's going to be worth looking at. But it's sort of like, oh, did you tag the boss, the rare boss? Well, you're still going to get the same thing. It's kind of like that, which means, there's the incentive there to not necessarily get there and do all this stuff. That said, unlike the rare boss, you do want to max out the bar. There's a progress bar of digging, and I do believe that your reward is tied to that progress bar. So there is a little bit of incentive. A new system. it feels like a combination of other systems, like an iteration on things, which I do like to see. So I think maybe I'll withhold some judgment on that for a bit, the scrap piles. I did the delve that is in the city, and I'm going to totally blank on its name right now, and I'm sorry. Never mind, I just checked. It is called Side Street Sluice. It is one of 2 new delves this month, this patch. The other is Excavation Site 9, and, oddly enough, I probably should have done Excavation Site 9. It is in the Ringing Deeps. It is still in the Verdant Gutter area, so it's not in Undermine itself. I didn't do it because I didn't know when in the story I was kind of supposed to do it, so I didn't want to do it wrong. And then all of a sudden I'm on the rocket and I'm in Undermine, and I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. Which is fine, because in Undermine, you go and you pick up the 2 delve quests anyway, so now I have the quest. But I never really made it out of Undermine, so I haven't gotten back to that one yet. Side Street Sluice, I enjoyed it. It's a little confusing, the layout, because it's got a lot of weird verticality, like basically a lot of different floors and levels, but how to get up and down the levels, not always obvious. There's some portal-y things. There's jumping. In the end, it was good. I believe we're still on Season 1 levels, because I did a level 6 delve, and with a Paladin kind of for the first time, so maybe that's the difference, but I did perfectly fine, never really in danger, and this was relatively not super well geared. I think he's like 6'10". 410 would be really bad. 6'10". So I recently mentioned, my tactic of underleveling delves. This one was underleveled, but not by as much as I might have thought. And yeah, it went okay. So enjoyable. Looking forward to the other delve, Excavation Site 9. We can talk about that in the next episode. Last thing I'll say about stories, there's a lot of story once you get to Undermine. And 2 things, 3 things, 2 things, I don't know. A lot of things kind of got blurred together. And one of the big things that got blurred was this new system having to do with jobs. Using your drive car, you can get radioed, hey, go pick this thing up. Hey, go fight these guys. Hey, run around the city and deliver things. And all of those jobs add up to some rewards. There's some world quests that are involved. There is the surge pricing concept. So if it's half hour or an hour, there's a thing called surge pricing for a period of time, and you get better rewards for doing these jobs. And what was not super clear to me was I doing this because someone told me to and needed me to, or was I doing it because it just didn't stop? Because as soon as you're done one job, it radios you with another job. And it's not super clear am I doing this because I have to? Is this part of the story? And so part of that long 7-hour marathon was doing these jobs for a while until I realized I think I want to quest. This can't be part of the questing. And I finally kind of hopped out. And it was sort of this like endless loop of, yep, do another one. Yep, do another one. Yep, do another one. And I guess I wouldn't mind a little bit of clarity going into that, or a little bit of clarity on how to get out of that loop at the right moment. Because I think there was a thing where, yep, you're doing 4 jobs in a row, 5 jobs in a row. Am I trying to get that to 10? Is there a benefit to 10? What is the deal? When do I have to do this? Should I just do it all the time? So that was unclear to me. And at some point I was like, wait, I'm not progressing my story. I need to get out of this. And I just kind of stopped. So that was a little odd, I guess. I don't know how better to explain that. it was a break from the questing. And as I mentioned, the questing, there is a lot, and it kind of just keeps going like boom, 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 do this, do this, do this. Here's some story, here, do this quest. Here's a little bit more backstory of what's going on. And I found myself with my attention span and everything thinking, this is a little bit of a lot. And I guess the job thing was a nice break from that. But I say but. I don't know what my criticism is or the answer should be, because I don't want to just hate on things. I guess it gets back to recently when Gershom and I talked about the things we liked, and I mentioned the options of story, and I think I mentioned it in an episode before that Blizzard is giving you this ability to kind of jump on, jump off, kind of like a trolley car, get on and off the story at your leisure. And so, yes, today I want to do a bunch of stay a while and listens. Yes, I want the optional cutscene that is, 30, 40 seconds that other players might not want. And this quest line in Undermine seemed to go against that concept, because it just felt like quest after quest after quest after quest, most of it with some voicing, a few of the voices missing, as I mentioned. None of it was as big as cinematics. None of it was as big as stay a while and listen. It was all quest text, and a few voice conversations here and there. And they weren't long. But after a good run of that, I think I'd had my fill. And eventually, hey, it was time to go to bed. It was late. I've been doing it for a while. And I finally hit the end of a storyline. And it said, hey, congratulations, you're now 2 of 6. I'm like, whoa, okay. So playing a really long time, not knowing where I was, not knowing when it was going to come to an end, I kept not letting myself search for the quest line, like, hey, how long is this quest line? How many quests are in the thing? I didn't want to see anything I didn't want to see, and I didn't want to spoil myself. So I didn't go look for that, but I was getting really close. And then that popped up, and I thought, okay, well, A, thank goodness, because I need to go to bed. But B, only 2 of 6. Ooh, okay. And so I guess, I don't know what's to come. Maybe they're shorter, maybe they're better, maybe they're different. But the first 2 definitely felt like a lot. That was a long ride to strap myself into. So not that I want them to change anything here, but going forward, I really think stick to that different bites and breaking story up and making parts of it longer, some shorter, some optional, some not. And I recognize it's hard to get us caught up on a city that has been around forever and we've never been to it. There's a lot of catching up to set the new scene. This is not just the next step in a story. It's a whole new place. So in that way, it's got a lot of work to do. There were a lot of little awesome things in this city. When you get there, look up at the skybox if you haven't already. It is hilarious. It is absolutely Goblin. Hey, let's slap some paint on this giant thing of wood and it looks like a tree, and let's pretend that's a tree. Well, they kind of did that for the skybox as well, because we're underground. And yet there are star-like lights and there are clouds and there's stuff painted up there, and it ain't the Sistine Chapel, let me say that. And so that's fabulous. Go to the buildings, walk around the buildings, like stop questing for a minute and just wander. Go inside, see who's where. There's some fascinating, weird characters and scenes. And why is, what's his name? Marty something or other, public defender, a lawyer's office on a 3rd floor of a random building that I walked into that had no less than 5 goblins, all with the same name, all doing various sorts of things in this law office. I don't know if that's part of the questing coming. I assume so. But just kind of hilarious. But the items, the details, the moving gadgets and things, the houses, the buildings, the offices are filled with stuff. And all of it's fascinating. So whoever's designing things in this game, they are, chef's kiss on a lot of that. The detail is so rich and so just eye-popping while still staying inside of that Warcraft feel. All of it feels like Warcraft, despite the higher fidelity of all of these things. Absolutely love that. One of the random things I picked up, I don't even know where I picked it up, was the Bilge Rat Swabbie's brush. It was kind of an appearance only, not really an item, but just an appearance. It's basically a staff that looks like a mop, and I loved it. I still have the broom that I got from earlier in The War Within. Can add my mop to go with it. Looks fantastic. And then there's one very strange thing in the Incontinental Hotel. Yeah, it's called Incontinental Hotel. Upstairs, there's the CHETT pack. There's the CHETT machine, okay? The CHETT machine, CHETT. I don't even know what it does or how I'm supposed to acquire things, but you can click on it and it says, hey, here's what I have on offer. If you get to a certain level with somebody, and I forget who or what, I honestly don't remember, but there is a jetpack in there called the CHETT pack, and it is a double-engined jetpack. And I saw a goblin in part of the questing had one, and this is, a version of that. If you are a military aircraft fan, hypothetically, it looks like the back end of an A-10 Warthog ground support aircraft. RIP, long since retired now, but the A-10 had these massive, I believe they were Rolls-Royce engines on the back, and this looks like the backpack version of that. It looks phenomenal. I need that. I will update you on when I figure out how to get that and how to get that, because that's going to be totally worth it. All right, that's just a hint of kind of what I've gotten into and my first thoughts on this awesome expansion so far. I have, like I said, no real complaints. I would love a few things to go a little bit differently, but the work that went into this is amazing. I love it. The new systems are solid and I think worth continuing to expand on. And I look forward to learning more about it and getting more just used to the game. Like I said, 2 of 6 in the storyline is not exactly, I'm not there yet. So there's lots more fun to have in Undermine. But for now, we should come up to the drink of the month. And we should pop into a tavern or inn to get that drink.
Interest ya in a pint?
Choose wisely.
But I'm a little worried. I'm not sure if this is a dry town or not.
By the light!
If you go to the Incontinental Hotel to grab that drink, you probably will run into Pax Top Skimmer. He is the concierge at the Incontinental Hotel. And he's got some drinks on offer. And no, I am not buying the liquid gold for 100,000 gold. I don't believe that is a good use of my money. And then there are a few other drinks, including the Galagio Especial. But none of them are listed as necessarily alcoholic. In fact, all of them will give me mana or health or what have you. But none of them are identified as an alcoholic beverage in my off time, having accomplished my 2 of 6 in the questing. And so I wandered the town in search of a tavern. I did not really find one. I thought, oh wait, there's a casino in this town. If anyone's going to have alcohol, it's a casino. Well, you can go to the Galagio, but you can't get in. And I'm not sure if that's because I haven't gotten far enough in the story yet, or if it's because the raid is not open until next week. Well, hopefully next week when I get this out. March 4th, Tuesday, March 4th is when the raid opens and season 2 begins. Well, I don't know if the Galagio is open yet, so that's a question I have. But here's the thing. I never found anything that said alcoholic drink. And I didn't really find a tavern. I mean, I could hang out in the hotel lobby, I guess. So for tonight, instead of searching all night and not recording anything, because I keep searching for something, I just went ahead and made myself a real old-fashioned and, yeah, push record, and here we are. So cheers to you in the real world. We'll keep searching Undermine for that good goblin drink. Here's to you. And if we were in said tavern, we would want to talk about the question of the month.
You sure got a lot of questions.
So last month I asked a question, first one in a while, but what do you think will be the next playable race that Blizzard is going to add to Warcraft? And based on the responses, I think people took it as what do they want, and maybe not what will come, but that's okay. I don't mind. That's probably a better question anyway. What do we want to see? Not trying to predict what Blizzard will do or will not do. And so here are the results. I put the question out there, and a hatful of Twitter responses, a giant pile of Blue Sky responses, which also tells me something, some interesting information. And here we go. I'm going to go in least to most. And there's a whole bunch of races tied with one vote. From the icy depths of Northrend, the Tuskar got a vote. And you know what? I might add a vote for the Tuskar as well. Maybe we'll bump them to 2. Also the Vrykul. That would be really amazing. But apparently some players are not fazed by the 2 scourges of Elwyn Forest, because both Murlocs and Gnolls got a vote. And speaking of scourges, from Draenor, there was one vote cast for the Saberon, and I had totally forgotten about the Saberon. They are the cat-like humanoids from Warlords of Draenor, what Wowpedia referred to as vaguely feline beasts. And yeah, they're kind of upright humanoids that are mostly like vicious cats, not kitty cats. These are vicious beast cats. That said, once you outlevel them, you can farm the crap out of them for, I forget which currency, to pick up a couple more mounts out there in, I believe that was in Tanan Jungle. I forget. There was one vote for Moonkin. And the explanation that came along with this was that, of course, druids have a Moonkin form, but bring it as offer it as a standalone playable race so that we can play as an owl bear warrior. I love that. That sounds amazing. Also getting one vote was the half orc, half Draenei. I don't know that there's a name for that, but the character Garona is a half orc, half Draenei. Also receiving one vote, the Mok'Nathal, the half orc, half ogres. Of course, the most famous of those, and the last living one on Azeroth at least, is Rexxar. And the last race that showed up with one vote was from Mists of Pandaria, the Jinyu. Their kind of horde equivalent compatriots, the Hosen, they received 2 votes. So 1 vote for fish people and 2 votes for poo-throwing monkeys. Got it. All right. Getting 2 votes, not half of anything, but full ogres. So not half ogres, but full ogres. A couple of people wanting full ogres. Also getting 2 votes, the Broken. And the Broken, also known as the Croccool. And these are actually 2 different Draenei groups. One who stayed out on Outland and evolved. And the other were the Draenei that were left on Argus. And they evolved as well after that world was damaged. In both cases, it seems like the evolution was due to exposure to fell energies. So the Broken, very cool, appearing in different phases of the Warcraft timeline. There were 4 votes for Naga, playable Naga. The runner-up, doubling the Naga with 8 votes, is the Arakoa, another Draenor, Warlords of Draenor race. And they clearly seem to ride the coattails of the number 1 vote getter. There's a bunch of people who mentioned both of these together, but the leading vote getter, and this perhaps should not be a surprise, were the Sethrak with 25 votes. Either I gained a fair number of followers on social media after the interview, or the Snake of Vol'dun is really good at making fake Blue Sky accounts. Either way, if you go through the comments on Blue Sky, you will see comment after comment lobbying for Sethrak, each with a slightly different message. I think, like I said, maybe they're all real followers. But definitely, I think Snake of Vol'dun made a great case for that as a playable race, and hey, we'll see. We will see. So those were the results. A lot of people obviously excited about Sethrak. Arakoa, that one caught me by surprise. I kind of forgot that was a valid, sort of fleshed out race with lots of emotes and lots of things in the game that I think would make it relatively easy to add. That said, behind the doors, I don't know how much they would need to add additionally to make them playable. Never mind the story aspects of it. Wide variety. That was really interesting. So thank you all for your responses. I will forward this on to Blizzard. I will see what they can do. We will, work towards that next playable race. Nobody said the Haranir, and I totally forgot about the Haranir when I was making the question, because that's I think a relatively easy adjacent race, and that might be. Are we going to see Haranir later in this expansion? Maybe, maybe not. So that was the question of the month. Last month, I think earlier in the episode, I said question of the week. We're definitely not doing one a week. My goodness. But let's ask another question. I want, stemming from the conversation with Gershom about what we like and what's going on, and now having played 11.1, at least the start of it, my question is just this. What are you excited for in the future of WoW? What has you excited? What is the most exciting thing to you? I think I know my answer. I'm not gonna say it yet, but I think, or maybe I will. The one thing that has me the most excited, I think, is the story. I am, again, really enjoying the story options that they have used in the past. I'm hoping they go back to that or keep incorporating those bits and those options. But even bigger picture than that, I like the direction of the story. I assumed there was a good reason to go to Undermine. That was not just a complete 90-degree turn into goblin hijinks and shenanigans. And it isn't. It all seems to fit into the bigger story, and I'm really excited to see where this goes. I'm really excited that they're investing time and energy into the lore and not just kind of every couple of years, let's go here, let's go there. So that's my answer to that. What is the thing that has you the most excited for the future of WoW? It really is the story itself. But what's yours? What are you excited for? What's got your blood pumping, and what's got you locking in that sub for the next year, 2 years, what have you? Email me, check out the socials, send your answers out there, and I will let you know what people think. And now it's time for the news.
You bring news?
What news from the mainland?
Have you any news?
And as I said, there is news. I think I want to try and cruise through this as quickly as we can. First on my list is the background screens for the Warband camps. And the Warband camps, they're all now live. It's funny, normally when I see the little yellow text show up in Warcraft that says, hey, check this thing out that you've probably not seen before, I usually skip them because usually I've seen them before. And I clicked through the first one, and then another one popped up, and I thought, okay, I should read this. And it was the, hey, here's the Make New Warbands button. And yeah, thank goodness I checked that out, because, yeah, I now have 16 different Warband camps. I basically grouped everybody by server, and, I have as many as 17 people now on one server. So that's, 4 per Warband camp. That is a lot of Warband camps, but I now have 16 total, and things are grouped. It's not ideal. It's pretty good though, and I will take it. So be sure to make your Warband camps if you so desire. You can still leave characters in the normal list. The one thing that isn't there yet, hopefully, is the ability to reorder the camps. They appear in the order that you make them. So for me, I did a couple on one server and then did another server, then came back to that first server, and things are weirdly out of order, which I'm going to live with because I don't feel like redoing that. But it would be nice to be able to slide those up and down as if they were characters, and I assume that may be coming, but it's not the biggest thing in the world. So I appreciate this feature. I'm glad that Team 2 worked on this and got this out. The other part of that is the new screens, the background screens. Everybody starts with the Onaran Overlook available to you, just for launching the Undermine content update. And then the other 3 that are available, you have to earn through something. And the first one is the Cultist Key. Cultist Key, they describe it as the rushing sound of water in this delve drowns out the occasional cultist chants. You can buy this from Reno Jackson in Dornegal, and to unlock it, you have to finish the Season 2 Delver's Journey. So get to the end of the Delver's Journey, and this one will be available to you. Looks pretty cool. Kind of got a Goonies ship underground cavern look to it. I like that. I can't wait to hear it because each one comes with some ambient noise and stuff like that. Quick side note, as I'm recording audio, and particularly recording ambiance without music in the game, I'll shut the music off, and sometimes I log out of the game and then I come back in. When I come back in, the music is still off, and the character select screen only has the ambient noises, and it's really kind of cool. As much as I say, #don't play muted, keep that amazing sound on, turn the music off every now and then and just listen to the ambiance, and it's pretty rich. It's pretty amazing. So just another sound from Blizzard that is pretty impressive. Okay, the next one is the Feywald Spring. The Earthen of Feywald are happy to host such renowned adventurers. Just clean up after yourselves. You get that from the achievement of All That Kaz. Check your achievements tab. I forget. It's like a big meta sort of quest, so there's a lot that goes into that one. But Feywald Spring, a pretty cool place to just kind of hang out. And the final one available at this point is the Galagio Grand Gallery. Gallywix may be willing to squeeze Undermine for all it's worth, but he sure has taste. That is debatable. This is gaudy. This one's not for me, but if you get the Going Goblin mode raid achievement, then you're going to unlock this in a... no, not raid achievement, because I think I've seen people already unlocking it. So I'm actually not sure what this is. All right, moving onward. The first 30th anniversary event took place in London, and there are 6 of these events worldwide. The first one was in London, and I saw pictures. It looked amazing. The venue looked really cool. The energy looked really high. There was a band playing. There were no major announcements. There was very little news that came out. I did see some interviews with various content creators. They were all kind of questions about current state of things and nothing announced that's coming ahead. Some tight-lipped sort of non-answers to, hey, what about this? It really just was a celebration of Warcraft. But I did like that the developers were available, and that gets me excited. I checked out a couple interviews. I listened to Novel 87's interview with Ian Hazakostas, the, of course, game director, and Maria Hamilton, the associate design director. And both of them addressed hearing from silent players in the game, like those who are already happy about the game and not complaining, or those who just don't tend to put their opinions out there. And that included solo players, and that they have been getting and looking for feedback. And, that was exciting to hear. And frankly, the proof is already in the game in so many ways that they have been listening to solo players. So that was really exciting. And, it caught my attention. This 6-city tour is coming to Boston, Massachusetts, which is not that far from me. That is in May, and there have been still no details about tickets, much less how to connect with game developers that may or may not be there. I am planning on attending if possible. I would love the opportunity to toss some solo player questions at any Team 2 representatives while I am there and help be part of that solo player information gathering process. So hopefully that could work out. I'd love to bring some questions and chat and get 10, 15 minutes or so with a couple of developers. So cross your fingers. Hopefully that works out. And if any of you knows Ian or Maria, tell them I would love to spend a few minutes picking their brains. In podcast world news, I was excited to hear the podcast Realm Maintenance make its return to my podcast feed. It kind of came out of the blue. There was a little announcement that essentially said the host Ease, he and his partner just had the birth of their first child, and that is super exciting. So congratulations to Ease and the Ease family. There's nothing like starting out as a parent. So good luck and enjoy. And again, hope everybody's healthy and happy. And great to hear that the podcast is coming back. That's really exciting. I think the weekly roundup, or at least the roundup of podcasts is, I don't know, I enjoy checking out who's put out episodes and where you can find what. So looking forward to that returning. I have to mention the Twitch drop. The latest Twitch drop just started up and runs for a month, I believe, maybe till March 25th. And that is it's the cutest little thing. It is Talk the Clocker Spaniel, and it is absolutely cute. There were some other versions or variants available on the trading post recently, but Talk is about the cutest thing I've seen. I think I had that the first day it was available. Just popped on Twitch and did some stuff, and yep, then Clock is running around behind me, because who doesn't love an amazing little spaniel, especially one made out of gears. Back inside the game, the Kalimdor Cup is live right now. I was walking in Dornegal and saw the Holiday Enthusiast NPC with the little quest above their head, and I thought, wait, what holiday? Love is in the Air is done. It's almost March. There's no holidays now. What's going on? And yeah, it's the Kalimdor Cup. And I thought, why on earth would I do that when the patch just dropped? That seems silly. But it does run until March 10th, so it's a couple of weeks, 2 weeks. If you are interested, of course, head out to Kalimdor, find the races on your map. This is a repeat, so if you've already done this once, you may not need to again. But if you love that dragon riding / dynamic flying / skywriting / whatever it's called this week, go do it. Speaking of the map, the new events tab is active, and this is pretty exciting. Right near where it says the map legend with all the new icons that were added with the expansion. With this content update, the events tab is there, and that contains both ongoing events and future timed events. And I believe, so it lists the Awakening in the Machine and the Spreading the Light events, and I assume that they stay there until that character does them. And if you can't do it again for the week, I assume that goes away. On the other side, the Timed Events tab, it shows you essentially all the future events looking ahead about 6 hours. And right now, that is surge pricing in Undermine and the Theater Troupe, which rolls around every hour. So I think each of these two are essentially oppose each other. Every half hour, one of them is going to run. When you hover over Theater Troupe, it actually identifies which play is going to be performed. So, if you haven't gotten one or you just want to see which one it is, it's there. That may not be a huge thing, but I could see that being a handy feature in the future as other events become more common. Ducking outside of the game for just a second, there is a WoW services sale, so up to 30% off on game services right now. There's, I think, 50% off on the expansion. There are deals on mounts and other things, so check that out if you were someone who maybe was waiting for a sale to buy certain game services and you were convinced by that. Well, there it is. 11.1, a little bit more news. Of course, there were 2 new delves. We've talked about that. You may have also heard that Blizzard is tuning the delve difficulties up for delves level 4 and above, so those are going to get more difficult. Frankly, I'm not looking forward to that change, but it is what it is, and, I'll get as far as I get, and I will be happy with that. The new dungeon is Operation Floodgate. I look forward to doing that in the follower dungeon mode, and of course, Mythic Plus mode will kick off next week, this coming reset week. And finally, in the news, the raid unlock schedule. Of course, the content patch update is out, but not the raid and not the PvP season. All of that stuff, Season 2 of The War Within starts on March 4th. And, of course, not everything as far as the raid side is available on March 4th. So right out of the gate, we'll have Raid Finder Wing 1, and that is the Shock and Awesome wing. It includes the bosses Cauldron of Carnage and Rick Reverb. And the raid will be available in its entirety for normal, heroic, and mythic difficulties. In the week of March 11th, Raid Finder Wing 2, Maniacal Machinist, and that will be Sprocketmonger Lockenstock and Styx Bunk Junker. These names are phenomenal. Styx Bunk Junker, it's like they're putting it out there just to try and trip people like me up. Also in March 11th, on that week, is the launch of Story Mode. So, Story Mode, the half-baked, unfinished cousin of Follower Dungeons, comes out in the second week, so I won't see the end. That said, there's not a lot of story in Story Mode unless something changed between Season 1 and Season 2, so that's fine. Hashtag follower raids. Come on. Week 3. So March 18th, Raid Finder Wing 3. That is 2 heads are better. We have the 2 bosses, actually 3 bosses, Vexy and the Gear Grinders, the One-Armed Bandit, and Mugsy. And week 4 The week of March 25th is Raid Finder Wing 4. That is the Chrome King. The final boss, of course, Chrome King Gallywix. Who knows? Maybe he'll live. I don't know. We'll find out. I'll find out March 11th when story mode comes out. Okay, that is the news. But speaking of raids... It is time for the raid of the month for February. And frankly, after the last raid of the month where we started in Shadowlands, I just didn't enjoy that raid enough, and I thought, I need to come back and cleanse my palate. And this month we are going to Firelands. This is one of my favorite raids. Maybe my favorite raid, period. Certainly the one I've done, I think, the most. I have farmed this many, many times, and I'll tell you why. I'm going to hop in on the 25-man heroic version. In we go into the loading screen.
Mortal insects! You dare trespass into my domain! Your arrogance will be purged in living flame.
There's a lot on offer. If I open up the adventure journal, the adventure guide, and see what the deal is with this Cataclysm raid. Firelands is the molten domain forged by the Titans to house Ragnaros and his wayward minions. Following Deathwing's emergence into Azeroth, Ragnaros and his servants surged onto the slopes of Mount Hyjal before being driven back by the Sacred Mountain's valiant defenders. Now Ragnaros is rallying his loyalists to defend the Firelands from Azeroth's champions. Well, sometimes they show up alone nowadays. Why do they show up alone? Well, because there is some good stuff in here. There are essentially two mounts that you want to get. The first is Flame Talon of Ali's Razor, which I realize is maybe the first time I've actually said that word out loud, and I have no idea if it's right. Ali's Razor. I don't know if I've even heard it in voiceovers or... Yeah, that might be the first time. Okay, well, this is a ground mount. It is a fiery, flaming, very, kind of old, but still a very cool ground mount. This one I already have. I scored this a few years ago, so, yep, that one's off the table. I have most of the transmog, and there's a lot of good transmog in here as well. For some reason, I'm missing a lot of the plate, and so... I'll keep farming and grab the rest of those just to have. But I'm pretty close to the end, which is nice. But there is one more thing on offer, and that is the Pure Blood Firehawk mount. This is a much desired mount. You get it by picking up the Smoldering Egg of Milagazor. And that egg is dropped by, of course, the final boss, Ragnaros. And so, yeah, this is one of the final raid bosses that people bang their heads against to get. I have not yet received it. Hoping to, maybe today. Who knows? We will see. That said, I'm actually here for one more mount. And this is a good reminder that, you know what? There are also achievement mounts. Check your achievements tab and roam around the dungeons and raids and see what you find. Because sometimes it's not just in the game that you can find those mounts. There are a hatful of mounts for just doing the raid achievements. And if I look under Dungeons and Raids, not in the specific one, but if I just click on Dungeons and Raids, there's a bunch of meta achievements, including the Glory of the Firelands Raider, which asks you to complete 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 different achievements. 6 of them are just beating bosses on heroic, but a bunch of them, the other 6 are do certain things inside of the raid. And I have done all but one. And if you know the Firelands, you probably know which one. It is called Only the Penitent. And to achieve this achievement, you must activate both of Fandrel's flames at once in Firelands without any raid member getting hit by Kneel to the Flame. So when you get to the Fandrel Staghelm boss, when you first walk up, you may or may not notice this actually. If you have no idea what this is, then let me tell you. When you get close to that boss, a ring of flame shoots out every few seconds. And when we get into the raid, I'll try and notice how often. And that ring is basically head high on a character. I don't know if gnomes actually get a pass on this. I don't think so. It goes out with a flame head high, and to not get hit by it, you have to kneel down. And I assume back in the day that flame probably did some damage. Nowadays, of course, if it does, it's negligible. But to get the achievement, you have to not get hit by that. And there are 2 or 3 of these that will go out in the time it takes you to cross the open area to get to Staghelm. And there are 2 flames on either side. And if you can kneel next to it and then activate that flame, and somebody else can activate the other flame, you've got both of them lit and you get the achievement. But if you're doing this solo, which I do, you've got to cross that area, and it's about 40 yards. Well, maybe it's a little less than that, but it's a long time. And it's too much for you to just run over, because it has to be pretty quickly or whatever. And I have never been able to do it on a druid, even like waiting, kneeling with the druid, lighting the flame, and then running right over. I haven't been able to do it. And so the reason I am on my level 68 Troll Warlock, who I rarely ever play, and Warlock is a class I almost never play. It might be my least played class. Not that I don't like it, I just don't get to it. But I had an idea as I was planning to do Firelands for Raid of the Month. I thought, ooh, wait a minute. Demonic gateways, those are a thing. And I'm not going to lie, I was today old when I used my first demonic gateway. And I've been playing this game for about 10 years now. Yeah. I just never had a reason to do it. I never thought of doing it. And so I had the idea like, oh, maybe I can demonic gateway from one fire to the other really quickly, activate it, and get out of here. And I didn't look it up, and maybe online I would find out that that's not even possible. I don't know. I don't care. We're going to test it out. But I did practice a demonic gateway when I portaled over to Hyjal. So, that was the first time I'd ever done one. And it was kind of fun. So we'll set up the demonic gateway. We'll see what we can do. And if we can finish this final achievement, then I will get the corrupted egg of Milligazor and have that. So I'm looking for 2 different mounts in Firelands. And you should too. These are both pretty fantastic mounts. Firelands itself, wonderfully constructed raid. There are 7 bosses. There are essentially, 4 bosses that you have to kind of run around the outer area and kill. Shanox is a boss who does a lap around the entire area. Ali's Razor and Lord Rylith and Benthalak are bosses kind of tucked into 3 different outer areas that you have to basically run around that lap and go ahead and kill. And once you do, you can get to Balrog the Gatekeeper. So that gets you 5 bosses down. The 6th boss is Major Domo Staghelm, so Fandrel Staghelm. He is essentially guarding the fantastic looking, I don't know, keep castle thing, crazy Firelands portal, whatever. It's a really cool building. It holds up. When did this raid come out? I don't even know. 2010. And it still looks fantastic. Okay, this might seem a little bit nitpicky, but Firelands was the raid for patch 4.2, and it launched on June 28th of 2011. Only a year and a half off. Also, it's Sulfuron Keep, the name of the keep. At least I got keep right first, but come on, do your research. All right, back to the raid of the month. And once you're inside, of course, you get to the Sanctuary of Ragnaros, where he is rising, and all of this is pretty easy. There's a billion pieces of trash. Essentially, you have to kill a certain amount of trash before the Shanox boss comes out, but it's not hard to do. This raid also drops some pieces, and they are crystallized firestones, and those crystallized firestones are going to allow you to upgrade some other stuff. It does look like I've got a couple wands that I haven't gotten the upgraded version of, so maybe I'll do that at some point. There are weapons on offer. There are full sets of transmog for the armor classes available. There's a lot going on here, and it's just a lot of fun. So let's start down the hill to the flatlands, where all of these elementals and molten lords and the fiery flame wakers, which was one of my favorite Hearthstone cards back in the day, where they're all doing their thing. And let's just start killing some stuff. So before I start, what am I? I am, as I said, a level 68 Affliction Warlock with garbage gear and rocking the heirlooms. So I have a total item level of 221. Not great. We've got a 282 weapon, which is the heritage armor weapon. This is not a character I play very often. He did get leveled up to 68 in the anniversary shebang. That said, looks like everybody is a level 35 here, and, that's no match for my eye level 221 craziness. Yeah, so even the first thing, it goes down pretty quickly. All right, I don't even know what the Warlock spells are. Hopefully some of these things do some AoE damage, because there's a lot of stuff to kill in Firelands. That's why Druid is fantastic. You just run around and kind of kill things. Oh, that did a lot of damage. What's that called? Vile Taint. That sounds terrible. All right, unleashes an explosion, kills a lot of things. Yeah, that one, sadly, it's on a 30-second cooldown, so I can't use that every single time I run into trouble. Another nice thing about Firelands, as far as a farming point of view, you can mount up and run around here a little bit quicker. It's a wide open space, a lot of flexibility as far as killing all the trash. But what it also means is you can vendor stuff. You can hop on your vendor mount and vendor things as you go. So if you do what I sometimes do, walk in here with a full bags, well, you can quickly take care of that. So I'm not sure it actually matters which boss you go to first. I don't know if there's any speed reason to do one versus the other. I'm not even sure I do the same thing every time. What's nice is you can run past a lot of the trash, just speeding things up a little bit. That said, sometimes it's hard to get past all of these little spiders. They kind of cling to you forever, so. Okay. Well, I added a new appearance, and it was a shield, so there you go. First boss down, and really, it's nice. There's a upstairs, downstairs part of this first fight, and with all the ranged abilities, I didn't even have to go to the upstairs. A lot of times on On Druid, I don't quite get the chance to get everything before it goes upstairs. Once you start killing some stuff, the horn sounds, and that means there's a couple different stages of that. Essentially getting ready to sick Shannox on you. I think we're gonna go do Alley Reserve next. Kill some egg piles. Kill the 2 birds, and then there's Major Domo Staghelm torturing some druids. You can start killing him, you can even kill him, it doesn't matter. See, he's at 0% health, but he's still gotta run through his little talking. Alisra. Alisrazor? Yeah, okay, she's born of flame. So Alisra, Alizrazor, I don't know.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I serve a new master now, mortals.
Hey, some plate spalders. A new appearance, that's good. There's also some class set tokens that drop. They are by groups of 3, like Warrior, Hunter, Shaman is a token. I don't have any of the other tokens in my bag right now, so I can't tell you, but basically it's 3 classes per token. Now we'll run up the hill to go kill some Rylith, Lord Rylith. This is the famous fight where you have to control the feet, the legs. I never did that at level or even in time walking or any of those things, so I've only heard everyone's horror stories of trying to do that when current, or me, I just get to walk in here, pound it a few times, and call it good. And that's okay with me. I'm all right with that. Let's see. Left foot, down. Right foot. Down, and down. Okay. Nice and quick. Hey, and we got another plate. These are hands, so we're doing well on whatever's left. This is good. That means my days of farming Firelands are asterisk, maybe coming to a close. If I can get my hands on a couple of mounts. Down the hill we go. We still have not killed enough trash to get Shannox into the fight, so let's kill a group of Flame Waken. Are Flame Wakers just like Fiery Naga? Is that it? Do we know if there's a connection? Fire Naga. That's what I'm going to call them from now on. Well, I totally underestimated the amount of trash I needed to kill. I'm out of practice. I have not been to the Firelands in a little while.
Yes.
There we go, finally.
I smelled them too, Riplim. Outsiders encroach on the Fire Lord's private grounds. Find their trail. Find them for me, that I may dispense punishment.
All right, so here comes Shannox with his 2 hounds. Ripjob, or what the heck are their names? Riptorn. No, Riplim and Rageface. Good names. You don't have to worry about the dogs. You can just kill Shannox. Everybody dies. Does not take long. 3 plate appearances. out of... we're scoring huge. Got a class set item token for Rogue Death Knight Mage Druid. So 4 that time. And now we head into Balrog. The last 3 bosses, they are in outside of that first zone, now in the compound. Two more plate appearances. That's like 7, I think. 7 or 8.
Well, I admire your tenacity. Balrog stood guard over this keep for 1,000 mortal lifetimes.
Oh.
But none may enter the Firelord's abode.
Okay. Here we come to the hard part.
Beg for mercy now, and I may yet allow you to live. Well, heroes, what is your answer?
First, we need to make the bridge. And as soon as you start this, you can see that ring of fire shooting out. So you don't want to go too far. Once you get over the bridge, essentially you got to start getting ready to kneel. So I'm going to hop off my mount. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. So basically 5 seconds. So we'll run for 4 seconds and kneel. And there's 2 flaming balls we need to activate. I don't know if this is going to work. I'm really nervous. All right. Never had to do this for an audience before. Okay, here we go. 1001, 1002, 1003. Kneel. I went just a second early. Kneel before the burning flame, he says. Damn it. Here I am reporting what he's saying to you, and I lost count, and yeah.
You're just embarrassing yourself.
As soon as you get hit by the flame, the balls disappear, and yay. So, guess what? I'm not going to win the achievement this time. Sorry. I'm going to have to come back. Maybe I'll bring you with me, maybe I won't. I don't even get a chance to test my gateway experiment. I'm bummed. Oh well. Take out our anger on Major Domo Staghelm here. Into the keep we go, and this is where I do enjoy being a druid because walking is slow. Can't mount up in here. After all that mounting in the outdoors, now you're like, oh, I have to walk all the way down here. And we come to Ragnaros. He's looking in fine form today. We meet again, my fiery friend.
Consumed by flame.
Phase change. Phase change.
No, fiend! Your time is now!
There's a lot of fire, there's a lot of flame going on. I haven't taken a lick of damage. Somehow I didn't even
It is finished, then.
attack Ragnaros in the second part, and he's still down, so there you go.
Heroes, the world owes you a great debt.
Yeah. It could pay that debt by giving me...
Primal powers he represents can never be vanquished. Another will rise to power.
I did not get it.
Yes, Cenarius.
I did get another plate appearance,
A constant vigil over this realm.
but no corrupted egg of Milagazor.
Great victory we have earned.
And that's it. Now you've got a slightly long escape. At least the running part. And before you cross the bridge, please note that there is a Circle of Thorns portal which takes you back to the beginning of the raid. You can just run up the hill to the vendors. You do not have to cross the entire plain. That's at least the one saving grace there. So is it worth it? Well, I was able to add a bunch of appearances, and really a bunch of appearances every time I do this. I just scored about 775, almost 800 gold from selling everything. I could sell some more stuff. I have those tokens. There's a bunch in my bag. I earned, 10 tokens for 183 gear, which obviously is not super useful other than the fact that there's a chance I can turn it into those last few appearances that I need. One nice thing about the tokens, and I honestly don't remember if this was the case before, but they are now warbound. I believe they were limited by your class and they were soulbound before the warband system came in. But now these tokens are warbound, so I've got 10 here. Only, let's see, exactly none of them are useful to me as a warlock, but I can send all 10 of them to the different classes that they represent and get some sort of, a chance at a new appearance. So that's a nice change. If it's a change, I'm pretty sure it's a change. Otherwise, you're selling those for 5 gold each, which is fine. That's another 50 gold. And there's the 3 mounts on offer. And I think all 3 of those mounts, obviously, your taste may vary, but they're all pretty cool. Firelands is kind of fun. It doesn't feel restrictive. It doesn't feel like a slog most of the time. In fact, the run back is basically the only slog. And you should be able to do it in about 20-25 minutes if you choose the right path, if you kill trash along the way, which I did not today. I think it is worth it. I think if you're someone who has multiple characters, park a couple at Firelands and run, if you get time, run 2 or 3 through in a week if you feel like it, and see what happens. Make sure you are on Heroic 25 to have a chance at the final mount off of Ragnaros. Otherwise, you do not get that chance. That's a bummer. I've done that numerous times. Yep, you gotta see those 5 blue swirlies and the angry skull mouth thing. So know that you're on the proper difficulty. And Sulfuron Keep and its grounds are just a pretty cool environment for a raid. So this should be no surprise to anyone. Firelands, 2 thumbs up. It's a good raid. It's a good farming raid. I assume it's also good on time walking. I hear good things about that. I've not done it. But if you do time walking, hop in there when Cataclysm time walking comes around again. And that's been our raid of the month. You got another week before the new raid comes out, so you might as well head to Firelands. Why not? It is time to dig into the solo queue mailbox. And this month I've got some feedback from Spotify. A couple comments showed up on Spotify. And the most recent one was from Christy Reisner. It was a hatful of days ago, I guess. It says, I really enjoy your podcast. I'm a solo player too, and it's nice to have a podcast about being a solo player. I enjoy your humor, insight, and the background music is the best. Thank you for such a great podcast. Just a side note, I'm a female gnome priest discipline working towards level 80. I've tried to play other characters, but gnomes are my favorite. Thank you so much, Christy, for the review on Spotify. I have a soft spot for gnomes as well. A gnome monk was one of my first characters, and he goes all the way back to the summer of 2015. So thank you for the kind words, and good luck in your journey getting to max level. I suppose I should also mention an older comment that showed up in Spotify that I sort of ignored, but I suppose I could share it along with another, apparently another listener's response. I'm going to leave the name out because I don't need to say it, but a while ago, I had a one-line comment that just said, well, you had to put politics in your WoW podcast. Good job, I'm out. There's no punctuation, but whatever. It's a internet comment. Okay. And I had to think about this. And given the timing, I suppose he was referring to me not being a big supporter of Twitter and its owner. But I remember the episode, and I remember saying something to the effect of, I'm still posting to Twitter if you're still on it, so, no big deal, or you do you, or whatever I said. Anyway, before I even saw this comment, some loyal defender stepped in to say, quite concisely, and also, I will add, fully punctuated, 6 words. Shut it, nerd. It's his show. So I appreciate that. User 12266899720. Pretty sure that's not my mom. I don't think she would come up with a number. But somebody stepped in to defend the show. I don't want to be political in this show. Not because I'm not political in real life. I am. And not because I'm a greedy content creator who will scrap my morals in hopes of attracting the largest possible audience. I think if I did that, I would not have a 2.5-hour show. I want the show to be accessible to any fans who want to be here, any fans of the show, any fans of WoW who appreciate this playstyle, anyone who wants to be here, frankly. I am not trying to scare people away who I disagree with. I also do not want to intrude on anyone coming to World of Warcraft or to solo queue who are trying to get away from the real world news. I totally get that. Heck, making the show is a great way for me to put my head down and focus on a whole different thing. But all of that said, I am not going to ignore events as they intersect with the game. I've noticed a significant shift in the small slice of WoW community that I can see, moving from Twitter or X over to Blue Sky. And I happen to agree with that move. I do not know much about the owners of Blue Sky, and I don't know anything egregious or divisive that they have done. Maybe they have, I don't know. But I do know the path that Twitter has traveled since it was taken over by the current owner. Many people are not pleased. Many WoW people have moved. Not all. And I do not judge the people who remain on Twitter. Some people I very much enjoy are only on Twitter and are not active on Blue Sky. I am choosing to focus on Blue Sky. I will continue to post show news and updates on Twitter as well. Personally, I have problems with every type of social media, whether they are left-leaning or right-leaning, full of real news or fake news. Bottom line, all of them, for me, are massive distractions and focus traps. I try and limit my time there so that I can be more productive in the more important parts of my own life. And again, all of that said, as a teacher of history, as a student of history, and as a student of political science, and as a former journalist, as a believer in the United States Constitution, and as a big fan of what my country can and should be about when it is at its best, I do take issue with anyone who wants to operate outside of the Constitution and the agreed norms of political life. Sorry. Enough said. Let's get back to Azeroth. I want to finish with just a plug for the music. We started out with some jazzy tunes as we came out of the opening. The music really is phenomenal. It is another level. It really is just a step outside the normal lanes for Azeroth, and the Goblin music kind of always has. And I'm not saying it's out of lane for that, but it's really good. And keep coming back to the idea that the music really is, for many people, obviously not everybody, it really is the heart and the backbone of a good chunk of this experience. A while back, Blizzard put out the 20th anniversary concert, the special concert that came out, I think, last November, and then they eventually put it onto YouTube. And in the future, I want to sort of go through that as part of an episode or something. I haven't had a chance to do it yet, but boy, to go through that really is just a phenomenal experience. So if you're a fan of the music, reach out, let me know. Let me know if you'd be interested in taking a deep dive into some of the music and the connections and how it interacts with the game. But I am fully enjoying it, so I hope you are as well. And last thing I'll just say, thank you, big thank you for listening. Sorry this episode ran a bit long. Hey, listen in parts. Break it into little sections or what have you. It is clearly not in my DNA to make brief episodes. Once I get here and get the intro figured out and get some topics, I know it's going to be a little while before I come back and reinvest time to do that again. And so I think I tend to pack in a little bit extra in each episode. And yeah, maybe I'm not feeling the most concise this month. I apologize for that as well. Ultimately, I hope you're enjoying. And if you've got some feedback, let me know. I'll mention it here in a second in the outro. But play it at a faster speed if you need to. Heck, I do that occasionally as well, so I can take in as many podcasts as I can in the limited amount of time I have. And speaking of limited time, it has finally come. It looks like our time in the queue is up for this month. I need to get back into Undermine. There are still 4 storylines to tackle, packages to deliver, customizations to get for my car, a delve to do, a follower dungeon to hit, and no follower raid yet. All of the music and the sound that you hear in this episode is the work of the amazing people at Blizzard. And there are so many sounds and voices and pieces of music in this episode, especially. In the open alone, oh my gosh. # don't play muted. The music taking us out is the song Ogre by my friends in the doom metal band Ogre. I think they need to go write a song called Unkillable to sing the praises of Mazoth the Unkillable. I want to thank everyone who made this episode possible. My lovely and supportive wife, the good folks at Podbean who host Solo Q, and you, dear listener, you. If you would like to support the show even in the smallest of ways, you can find the show at patreon.com/soloqwow. Thank you to current contributing patrons, Andrew, Righteous Bandy, That Sky Guy, Sin, and the Snake of Voldoon. All 25 of his Blue Sky accounts. Members of the free supporting tier include Max, Eddie, Bear, John, Friends of Wumpus, Sean, Kuro Moreno Caso, Aaron R., Aiden Nacrin, Guardian Sandy, and the newest member, Alice. The support on Patreon has helped to buy some new equipment and push me into these almost twice monthly episodes. Paying members get to hear the opening bits of most episodes early, and there is a growing chat on patreon.com/soloqwow. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and do subscribe. It'll show up each month, and you can listen to a little bit every day. If you can leave a 5-star review with Apple or Spotify, that will help expose the show and move us up those rankings. And if you're feeling super into it, go ahead and leave a review. And as I run across those reviews, I will share them here on the show. Hit me up. You can contact me at soloqwow, SOLOQUEUEWOW @gmail.com, and on all the socials. Blue Sky and Gmail are the best. Twitter, if you want to, if you're still there. that is okay. Just saying. Facebook, Instagram, and Threads I check less often, but they're there. Hey, good luck and your continued exploration of Undermine. Let me know what you think. And heck, we can talk about all of it the next time I see you in a couple weeks when we come back to the solo queue. I'll see you out there.